Sunday school teacher, I'm glad that you joined us for our time of preparation and study. We are continuing in our study in the book of Exodus. Again, remember, be careful. Don't get bogged down in all the content. There's so much historical facts that we're trying to cover that if you're not careful, you'll not get to the point of each lesson. This is the lesson for September the 10th. The title of the lesson is Confrontation. We're going to be in Exodus chapter 7, and we're going to be looking at Moses going before Pharaoh. So the point of this lesson is that God displays His power, reminding all that He alone is worthy of our worship. So the title of the lesson is Confrontation. Now in this session, we're going to examine the Lord's revelation of His power to the Israelite leaders of Moses and Aaron. The Lord was preparing His servants to confront Pharaoh. We know that Exodus chapter 5 through 10 is the story of Moses and Aaron confronting Pharaoh and the series of plagues that were brought on that eventually led to the release of the Israelite nation. We know that in these chapters that God demands that His people be released from Egypt first to have a festival for Him. Pharaoh says no, and then the demand for their ultimate release. We know that Pharaoh refuses, and he demonstrates that he does not know the Lord through his disobedience. And because of his disobedience, Pharaoh's hardened heart led him in an opposite direction of the Lord and what the Lord instructed. So let's look at these verses. In the first 5 verses of chapter 7, we see God's strategy being explained to the leaders of Moses and Aaron, primarily Moses. So chapter 7, verse 1. The Lord answered Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother will be your prophet. You must say whatever I command you, then your brother must declare it to Pharaoh, so that he will let the Israelites go from his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh will not listen to you, but I will put my hand into Egypt and bring the military divisions of my people, the Israelites, out of the land of Egypt because of the great acts of judgment. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring the Israelites from among them." So here we see the Lord's plan. God was instructing Moses on the plan. The Lord knew that Pharaoh would not release the Israelite slaves without being compelled, without being forced to do so, and that his resistance would result in the Lord's demonstration of greater signs and wonders. In verse 1, God says that I have made you like God to Pharaoh. And it's important to understand what that means. Remember that the Egyptians viewed their Pharaoh as a god. And so when he says like a god to Pharaoh, Moses should not come to Pharaoh as an equal, as a subject. When Moses walks in, he's not going in there as